Davomir stood, shifting his weight uncomfortably as Pethara spoke to him. He had sensed nothing that could match her accusations, and he was uncertain if he should worry for her safety or her sanity.
Are you certain that this was not, a dream?
Are you serious? I know the difference between the waking world and the dreaming world. Thank you very much, sis.
Pethara glared down at him as her hands tightly gripped the railing of the Andeen's deck.
I should like to know the intentions this stranger had in mind when casting such a spell. It was unlike anything I have ever encountered before.
Pethara's eyes searched across the brilliant blue ocean waters surrounding them, as though they might hold answers for her.
No Bokenite have ever been sighted on the western continent, right? I doubt we sailed the first ship to bring them across the sea, and I doubt the captain would have allowed a taken mark to board his ship.
If you men were smart enough to know the signs, perhaps.
Pethara quickly bit her tongue, angry with it for betraying her. Misandry was a deep-rooted issue within the matriarchy of Mo, and it was a flaw that Pethara had been striving to improve upon. Davomir alone had already proven to her that men were no less capable than women, at least in some cases.
I sensed no connection with the strength required to produce such energy amongst our fellow passengers, and I have no way of knowing what sort of spell was cast without finding the source. That worries me, Davomir.
Pethara confided to him. It was the first time that Davomir had ever heard a waver in her voice.
If you sense this power again tonight, you should come straight away to fetch me before pursuing it.
I should come fetch you straight away, should I? No clothing or anything first?
No, of course not. Titan gods, Pethara. Why must you always take the piss? Heck's sake. If there is a danger aboard the Andeen, then the last thing you should be doing is sneaking alone towards the danger. Promise me.
You win, sis. I promise that I shall find you if I sense this magic again. In the meantime, keep your wits about you.
You should always keep your tits about you. Where else would you keep them?
Pethara spun around quickly in shock.
Lady Rila!
She had sensed other passengers sauntering back and forth across the deck, but she hadn't sensed Rila approaching them at all. Pethara scolded herself for the instant hypocrisy, telling Davomir to keep his guard up whilst allowing her own to drop.
We were just discussing... You did not happen to notice anything odd last night, did you?
Notice anything odd? Like what?
Pethara debated upon how much information she wanted to share with her new companion. There was something about Rila which rubbed Pethara the wrong way, but she simply could not place her finger upon why. Still, if they were to be traveling together as companions over the next rotation, she would have to allow the girl opportunities to prove herself. Pethara admitted reluctantly.
Late last evening, there was... I sensed powerful magic emanating from somewhere aboard the ship, but I was unable to trace it back to its mark.
Really? Oh, I am sorry, Pethara. I cannot say that I sensed anything last night. I went straight to sleep after that awful mess with the Rydia and didn't wake up until this morning. What sort of powerful magic?
I do not know. I could only sense that the connection was to a Titan god in which I do not pray, of which there are many. Would you please let me know if you sense anything from the other passengers?
Pethara expected no less. She found it difficult to believe that this waif could sense her own magical connection, much less that of others. It had been a foolhardy notion on her part to think that this girl could offer assistance. Rila flashed a cheerful smile and replied,
Yes, of course. We are in this together, are we not? We have a few days yet before we reach the shore, and I came to ask you if you'd like to go over some of the research that my aunt lent me for this expedition. You can never be too prepared when intending to attempt the impossible, right?
Pethara's ears perked with interest immediately at the prospect of perusing the Elder Mark's research. She eagerly agreed as, after all, Pethara's original intention had been to study with Narama. These papers could offer her the opportunity to yet learn something. Davomir watched Pethara follow Rila across the deck and down the stairs with sullen concern. He worried for Pethara's safety now that he was aware of potential danger lurking within the ship. The nervous paranoia that had been draining from him since leaving Nath was beginning to burrow back into the pit of his stomach. His eyes swept over the ship, assessing those around him. He could sense only one of the crew to be marked, but Davomir could easily overpower this man. There was a marked woman leaning over the railing on the opposite side of the ship, yet he could sense that her connection was also much weaker than his own. At supper the previous evening, Davomir had crossed paths with a marked man that had been chatting with another passenger. The man had mentioned being a Sharda from Tordosia, heading home to his family, an unlikely candidate. In fact, most of the passengers aboard the Andeen appeared to be heading home to Tordosia, along with a few traveling merchants. None stood out to Davomir as potentially dangerous. He thought to himself,
No wonder Pethara is concerned.
Davomir could handle giant creatures, crazy magics, and all the monstrosities which Ytralos had on offer. But there was nothing that Davomir could do against an unknown enemy. A fact that scared him far more than any monster ever could. Greetings once more, wonderful watchers. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you all for your likes, your subscriptions, and your time. You are truly a beautiful soul, and you are deeply appreciated. You deserve to know that we have a Patreon page available for you to join, at your kind leisure, of course. The YouTube algorithm is worse than a rampaging horde of Bokenite, and our generous patrons allow us to continue our battle against it. Furthermore, there are certain episodes that YouTube would frown upon, and thus are only available to our patrons. Please do think it over, and enjoy the rest of your day.